Learning how to be a skilled facilitator is similar to learning how to be a skilled athlete. You can quickly learn the rules of the game and begin to play, but to play well, you need practice. It is one thing to know about the process of facilitation, but it is quite another thing to be able to successfully apply your understanding in a public setting. A facilitator supports a group to do its best by encouraging full participation, promoting mutual understanding, fostering inclusive solutions, and teaching new thinking skills. In order to perform these functions effectively, there are a number of basic skills and methods a facilitator should have and continually improve upon. Although some of these skills may be second nature for you, there are likely some areas that you are not as strong in. It will be important for you to focus on these particular areas and try to go on the path of mastery that invites you to not only learn, but also practice getting better at what you learn. The following are facilitation skills used to encourage full participation and foster mutual respect of participants. The art of paraphrasing. This fundamental listening skill has both a clarifying and calming effect on the speaker. It helps people feel that their ideas are being heard and checks the accuracy of the intended message. Use your own words to say what you heard the speaker say. Preface the paraphrase with something like, "What I heard you say was," or "Let me see if I understand what you were saying." And then you finish with, "Is that what you were saying? Or did I leave anything out?" The use of courageous listening to draw people out. This is the art of helping a speaker express more clearly what he or she is trying to say. Pay respectful attention to the content and feelings being expressed by the speaker. Say back what you heard in your own words. To reflect their thoughts and feelings, remember to check for accuracy. Ask open-ended questions to allow the speaker to elaborate on confusing or ambiguous pieces of information. Stacking those wishing to speak. This skill assures people who want to speak that they will have their turn. It relieves the facilitator of having to privately keep track of who has spoken and who is waiting to speak. It also helps to calm members who are competing for airtime and reduces impatience and disrespectful interrupting. First, ask members of the group to raise their hand if they wish to speak. Second, create the speaking order by acknowledging the member by the name and the order in which their hand went up. Third, call on the speakers in order. And fourth, continue to stack speakers as they raise their hand and remind the speakers the order of their turn by repeating the list as you go. Tracking various points being made. This skill relieves the anxiety felt by someone who wonders why the group is not responding to his or her ideas in the discussion. Tracking lets the group see that there are several components of the issue being discussed and all are valid. First, acknowledge that there are various lines of thoughts going on simultaneously within a single discussion. Second, identify the different conversations or lines of thought. Third, check your accuracy with the group by asking for confirmation. Balancing expressed views. This skill assists members who need support in expressing views they think are minority positions. This technique helps round out a discussion by asking for other views that may be present but have not yet been expressed. This sends the message that it is acceptable for people to speak their mind no matter what opinions they have. Examples include, what do others think? Does everyone agree with this? Or are there other ways of looking at this topic? Making space for the quiet. This skill gives permission to the less verbal members of a group that it is okay if they do not wish to speak, but that if they would like to participate, the opportunity is extended. For whatever reason why a participant might not speak, the facilitator can make room for them by being aware of the quiet members and watching for signs that they wish to speak. For example, body language, facial expressions, hand gestures, etc. Invite them to speak. Do you want to add anything? Or was there an idea you wish to express? Graciously accept their decision to not participate and move on. Hold others from jumping in or dominating the conversation by going one at a time or stacking. Allow the quiet individual to go first if they choose to. Suggest a structured go-around method of sharing if participation seems uneven. And use a door opener. Let's hear from someone who hasn't spoken for a while. Attentive silence. This skill gives participants the time to reflect on what they are thinking and feeling, and whether they want to express their thoughts in more depth. Be prepared to tolerate the awkward 5 to 10 seconds of silence while members organize their thoughts. Stay focused on the speaker. Provide no verbal or nonverbal feedback, just stay relaxed yet attentive. Be prepared to prevent others from breaking the silence by nonverbal cues such as a raised hand or a quick shake of the head in their direction. Use this technique also when the group seems confused, agitated, or having trouble staying focused. The ability to effectively communicate with other people is an important life skill. Through communication, people reach some understanding of each other, learn to like each other, influence one another, build trust, and learn more about themselves and how people perceive them. People who communicate effectively know how to interact with others flexibly, skillfully, and responsibly, but without sacrificing their own needs and integrity. Can you believe we only hear half of what is said to us, understand only half of that, believe only half of that, and remember only half of that? The communication process is complex. A person sends from 100 to 300 messages each day. These include the message that was intended to be sent, the message that was actually sent, the message as the hearer interprets it, the response of the hearer based on what they heard, and the reaction to the exchange of words, meaning, and interpretation that follows. To have communication, both speaking and listening are required. People do more listening than any other form of communication, but most listen at the efficiency level of less than 25%. Tests show that immediately after listening to a 10-minute oral presentation, the average listener has heard, understood, properly evaluated, and retained only half of what was said. Within 48 hours, that comprehension rate dropped to 1/4. A good listener works at listening, helps the speaker transmit thoughts, listens to understand and not to refute. Who has the primary responsibility for effective verbal communications, the speaker or the listener? This question has been asked of thousands of people. 75% of those who answer say the speaker. 25% say the listener. This attitude is mirrored in people's behavior as a listener. Because they assume the speaker has the main responsibility, they listen passively instead of taking an active, responsible role. Just think how much more effective communication would be if the speaker and the listener each would take 51% of the responsibility. This adds up to 102%, which may not be good mathematics, but represents highly effective communications. Listening is your primary communication activity. Studies show that you spend 80% of your waking hours communicating. About 45% of that time is spent listening. Your listening habits are not the result of training, but rather the result of the lack of it. These are facilitation skills used for supporting the exchange of ideas and building group momentum. Determining who talks when. One of the most clear-cut and valuable contributions a facilitator can make is to help group members know when it is their turn to speak. Allowing members to speak whenever they have something to say can result in confusion and inequity. Being able to effectively determine who goes when helps the facilitator organize the flow of the discussion. Focusing the discussion. It is critical to know when to keep the focus of group discussion on specific points being raised, and when to help the group move away from specific points to other lines of thought. Here are a few additional skills of a good facilitator. Be authentic. Even with a well-prepared agenda and key points you must make, you need to be flexible and natural. If people sense that you are reading memorized lines, they will feel like they are being talked down to and will not respond freely. Be mindful. Are people shifting in their seats? Are they bored, tired, looking confused? If folks seem restless or in a haze, you may need to take a break or speed up or slow down the pace of the meeting. And if you see confused looks on too many faces, you may need to stop and check in with the group. Make sure that everyone knows where you are in the agenda and that they are with you. Check your inferences. Be careful about deciding where the meeting should go. Check back after each major part of the process to see if there are questions and that everyone understands and agrees with decisions that were made. Summarize and pause. When you finish a point or part of the meeting process, sum up what was done and decided, and pause for questions and comments before moving on. Be prepared to wait 5 to 7 seconds while participants process and focus their thoughts. Self-monitor. Take a break to calm down if you feel nervous or are losing control. Watch that you are not repeating yourself or saying or between words or thoughts. Be sure to not speak too fast or too slow. Do not stand too close to the members so that they feel intimidated. Make eye contact so people feel engaged. How you can act can influence how people feel. Hold on to a marker, a pen, or the back of a chair. Do not play with things in your pocket or fidget annoyingly. Be careful that you are not offending or alienating anyone in the group. Use swear words at your own risk. Using body language to control the dynamics in the room can be a great tool. Moving up close to a shy, quiet participant and asking them to speak may make them feel more willing because they look at you instead of the big group and feel less intimidated. Also, walking around engages people in the process. Don't just stand in the front of the room for the entire meeting. And finally, always wait until you stop writing and are facing the group to talk.